Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Straits Cultural Center, downtown St. Ignace, where we are doing a program tonight with historical marbling by Heidi Finley from Marbling Supplies. And we hope you enjoy this, and we're going to let her go ahead and start.
Sound effects.
Sound effects.
All right, so what is marbling? Usually the experience that people have with marbling before I get a hold of them is this. Okay, this is a Kleenex tissue box and it's printed with a marbled pattern. That's the experience most people have with marbling. Traditionally, historically, marbling was used to decorate both the inside and outside covers of books. So I have a couple examples. This is an inside cover of my 1888 dictionary of technology. And you can see a very old actual piece of marbled paper decorating the inside of that cover. It probably had a lot more color when the book was new. The color has probably faded. I have another one here. This is the outside cover of a little book, and again, that's actual paint covered in beeswax. That is a Spanish wave pattern. Very beautiful, not quite as faded. And then here's another example of marbled end papers inside a book. But then also, the very cool thing about this example is that the edges of the pages are marbled in the very same manner, and that's what I'm going to be showing you how to do tonight. And from this point, I am the masked marbler.
I don't believe I've ever heard of such a thing. Don't worry, I'm coming back. I'll watch you do it.
Okay. All right, so have you heard of marbling?
No.
No, it's a historical craft from Turkey. And here's an example of the inside cover of a book from the late 1800s. Here's another example of the outside cover of a book decorated with marbling. This is actual paint that you're seeing covered with beeswax. And here's another very cool example. Inside end pages marbled, but then the edges of the pages are also marbled.
Well, isn't that cool?
Yes, very same method, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do tonight.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just about ready to get started.
All right, well, let me see if I can round up everyone.
All right.
Even
So
better.
you're gonna go see marbling, and go, what?
Yeah.
You watch the marbles?
All right, shall I wait?
No.
No, just keep going. All right, I'll go. Okay, so my first step, maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't, is I used a strip of newspaper to clean the surface of the fluid in this tray. The marbled pattern will be created upon the fluid in the tray. We're going to use these paint jars and these brushes here, and we're going to broadcast, as marblers say, broadcast the color onto the fluid. Then we will use these tools that you see here. This is called a double rake. This is called a rake. This is called a comb. We'll use these tools to push the paint around into the lovely patterns that I hope you can see on the front of the table here. If not, I can show you this spot pattern. This is another spot pattern. This is called a non-perial, and I'll be showing you how to do that right away tonight. Over here I have some old-time traditional marbling tools. These are Turkish marbling brushes made in Turkey, and they're used by current Turkish artisans right now, today. They consist of horsehair and rosewood. The marbling brushes that I use are made of plastic, and that's what these are. Other marbling brushes might have been made from something called broom corn, which was harvested, dried, and then the seeds stripped off, put into bundles like this, and then this would have been the paintbrush that's used to get the paint from the jar onto the surface of the fluid. This is a very important tool in marbling. It's called a stick. This is a natural version. This is a piece of willow. Very important tools, probably the most basic tool in marbling. All right, now I've been away from my tray long enough here that I'm going to clean the surface of the fluid once again with my strip of newsprint here. This is just absorbing any paint drips, drops, dust, anything that's dropped to the surface here. All right, so now we're going to get started applying our paint. And this is done slowly, color after color. What's happening, and I doubt you can see it on the film, but what's happening is the droplets of paint are hitting the fluid, and they're spreading. They are not sinking. They're floating on the surface, and they are spreading. At least that's what we want them to do. I said earlier that it's a little humid in here tonight, and that can sometimes affect marbling, but so far so good here. My colors are spreading very nicely. So I'm just continuing to, as I said, broadcast the paint onto the fluid. You'll hear me call the fluid size. I'm broadcasting the paint droplets onto the size. And after I have enough paint droplets, then I will use the tools here to push the paint into the organized patterns that you see on the front of the table, hopefully. All right, just a couple more applications here. Does anybody have questions so far while I finish up here?
What kind of paints are you using?
I am using a special blend that I blend in the studio. It is acrylic based.
Okay.
And it is formulated to float. That's what's special about it.
Okay.
Marbling can be done with all different types of paint, including acrylic. Some people use oil. Some people use ink or something called gouache, which is a historical pigment type, paint type. But I like acrylic because it cleans up fairly well. All right, I'm just about ready here to quit adding color. I like to push as far as I can because I like brilliant, bold color. Hello, welcome. Anybody out there, have you ever heard of marbling, any of you?
I've seen you do it.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, good, welcome back. Good. All right, so I've got all my paint down on the size, the surface of the fluid, and now it's time to pick some tools and decide what pattern I'm gonna make. I would like to show you how to make a non-perial, which is this design right here. Can the camera see that or not? Maybe. Yep, we're going to make a non-perial. Every marbling pattern starts out what we call a spot pattern. This is a spot pattern. You can't see what's in the tray. If you want to stand up and look, you'll see a spot pattern here now. This is also called a spot pattern. Every one of the beautiful, detailed, intricate patterns you see, all of them start out as a spot pattern. The ones I'm going to show you tonight do. This is a spot pattern on the edge of the book here, just plain spot pattern with no tooling. Here's another view of it. Oh, that's pretty. Isn't that pretty? All right. Okay, so in order to make the non-perial, which is this one here, first step is to use my stick, and this is called stirring. It doesn't look at all like how you stir in the kitchen, right? But this is sort of organizing the spots of color into long striations, which will make them interact much more easily with the tools they have here. So that's why we stir. I teach marbling, and I like to teach some of the traditional patterns, like the non-perial and a couple others like I'm going to show you tonight. All right, so our pattern is stirred. The next step is to use this comb, and this will dramatically change things. Here we go. Now remember, the paint is still floating on the surface of the size. It's a microscopically thin layer almost of floating paint. There's very little paint in there. And there we are, we have a non-perial pattern. It looks just like this non-perial pattern in different colors. Now I've pronounced the pattern finished, so it's time to print it on paper because it doesn't do us much good if it's sitting here in the tray. So at this point now we're going to put it onto paper, and then it will look like this. Over here I have a stack of paper that I brought with me. It's treated, I did this before I came tonight.
Did you show the
Pre-treated with something called alum or aluminum sulfate. Alum, like you find in the kitchen, that your grandmother used to make pickles. Okay? And the alum acts as a mordant. Does anybody know what that means or remember what it means? If you've seen me do this? Nope. A mordant is something that sets up a chemical reaction between two surfaces. In this case, our paper and our paint. Because this paper is treated with alum, it will permanently accept the paint. And when I rinse this paper in the bucket of water here, paint will not leave the paper. Most of it will stay on the paper, if I did everything right. Question?
What kind of paper was it before you treated it?
It's not, this paper is called Texoprint. It's actually made in the UP. And that sounds really special, but you don't have to use special paper. You can use any paper at all, as long as it's treated with the alum. Yep. All right, so here we go. It's an instant bond, so as soon as I drop the paper on there, it's ready to pick up. And that's what I'm going to do now. There it is. And again, if I did everything right, remembered everything, it won't fall off of there. Sometimes I get the wrong side of the paper allumed or something happens, but we're going to hope that that stays just like that. Would you like to put it near the slime will drop to the carpet, but I don't think it's going to matter. So, yeah. All right, and then if you look in the tray, there's a little bit of paint left, but most of it left the tray on this paper. So at this point, We're gonna put it in this bin full of water. This is just plain water. And we're gonna rinse off 3 things. We are rinsing off any extra paint. If I put on too much paint, it'll fall off, which is fine. We are rinsing off alum, because we don't want that in the paper after we're finished. And we're rinsing off the layer of slime from the tray. I haven't talked about the fluid in the tray at all yet, but it's made with seaweed. It's basically slime. It thickens the water and it helps my paint to float. Okay, but again, we don't really want that on our finished paper, so we've rinsed it off. And then we'll just kind of prop it up here and let it drain for a bit, and then I will hang it up on my rack in the back here. And now I am free to start another non-peril
Do you have
design.
to change the water out?
I don't.
You don't?
No, that's where
Oh, that comes in.
the newspaper comes in. So here we go. This is called skimming. This will remove most of the paint, which is still sitting on the surface of the water, right? Well, of the fluid, of the carrageenan. There it is.
Like the magic.
Yes, right on the paper there. Okay, and now we're ready to start again. I'm calling myself the masked marbler tonight. And I'm smiling ear to ear under this mask, but you can't see me. This is my most favorite thing to do ever. All right, so I didn't really think much about the colors for that first one. Let's plan. Let's do a little bit more planning this time.
Okay, so we had a question here.
Yes, question.
What are we supposed to do with this paper?
Oh.
What would we do with this?
Good question, good question. You can use marbled paper for any project calling for decorative paper. That is, instead of going to Joann Fabrics or any of those places, which are great, I go there too, you can make your own decorative paper with actual paint. And you can use it to use it in scrapbooking. You can use it to make note cards like I do. That's what this is. There's another note card. I also cut it up and make little bookmarks. These are simple, and you don't even have to laminate them like I do. Just very simple. People use it in journaling, little bits. It's beautiful.
But if you wanted to,
Yeah.
you could actually use it for wrapping paper.
Oh, yes, you could.
You could actually, if you
For
have
very
small kids.
special small gifts.
Yes.
Yes. The other thing you can do with the process is rather than putting it on paper, you can put it on other natural fiber. So what would that include? Can you think of any natural fiber besides paper that you might want to decorate?
Clothes.
Clothing, yes.
Cotton.
Oh.
Or silk. I make large silk scarves with the process.
I have one at home.
Plain untreated wood accepts the paint very nicely, so if you wanted to have a large tray or bucket and you had maybe somebody to help you to dip, turn like a stool upside down,
Oh, okay.
dip it, right?
Could you do like maybe driftwood?
You could, yes, you might need to have a deeper bucket
Yeah.
to do, but yeah.
What'd you say? Driftwood. Driftwood.
Yeah, you can also do things like t-shirts, and you know those little canvas tennis shoes, they're usually white, that you can buy in the dime store.
Oh,
Fun! Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Kind of like
Yes.
yours.
Or you can do canvases, right?
You,
Like your guys that you do?
I've never tried a
Oh, never mind.
canvas,
Okay.
but people ask me often if,
I would think it would stick to it. I mean, they accept paint.
I think you could do
You
a
should try one.
canvas.
You should try it.
I think it would be tricky not to get air bubbles under.
Oh, fair.
And a canvas is really
The texture is-
bumpy.
Yeah.
It's full of texture. I like to marble on silk because it's a very fine texture, and so the designs, my very fine designs that I make, show better. They show more nicely on silk. Yeah, silk or artist quality paper like I'm using tonight. All right, let's do another.
I don't know. She said you could use any paper. It just has to have it out. I know.
That's right. You can use any paper. If you can use copy paper, the only thing is it's not artist quality,
and it will wrinkle, right? It's not gonna dry flat, it's gonna bubble and wrinkle. So that's the only reason I use special paper. All right, starting again.
So you just, what are those bunches?
The brushes?
Yeah.
These are plastic broom straw brushes, which I've made. Go home and look at the broom that's in your kitchen, and it'll look, the bristles will look like, here, you can touch that one. Yeah.
Oh.
Now, you've been watching me put the paint droplets on in a very organized, random fashion. Meaning, I'm putting them everywhere, all over evenly on the surface of the size. But you don't have to do that. There's a piece down here, I think it's this one, yes, which shows what I call localized color, where certain colors only go in certain places. So let's do that with this piece. I'm gonna now put some stripes in it. I have a fine art background, and my favorite part about marbling is the color and the pattern. That is what keeps me marbling year after year. I've been doing it now for, I think, about 14 years. And normally, as an artist, once I master something and learn about it, I move on after that because there's so much out there to learn. But this has held my interest for 14 years, which is pretty amazing.
What type of paint is that?
This is basically acrylic paint.
Do you water it down at all?
Yes, there's water in it too. Yep. Well, depending on what you start with. But yeah, the consistency is important. All right. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but the last color I put on, which was the purple, is not spreading as well. It's slowed down quite a bit. So that is a sign that tells me that it's time to stop putting paint on, because the surface will only accept so much. All right, so we're going to quit, and I'm going to continue with my stir. And again, the stirring step just organizes those spots of color into long striations so that they will better interact with the tools that you see to my right. Next step for the non-perial is to use the comb. I'm going to push this one step further than a non-perial, and I'm going to make what's called a peacock, and I don't think I have an example with me, so this will be a surprise. So I'm going to grab my double rake here. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to do sort of an S-curve move here. And this creates what's called the peacock pattern. It's very beautiful. Especially with localized color, in my opinion. So, let's print it. Oh, well, we'll peel this off before it sticks itself on there permanently. We'll just there. So you see I have have a sign on my bag here for myself, because there's only alum on one side of this paper, and I have got to make sure I get that side against the paint. Otherwise the paint will run off when I rinse.
How do you treat it with the alum? Do you like soak it or?
With a sponge,
With
but
a
you
sponge?
could also soak it. And what you're seeing me do here is just sort of coaxing a bend into the paper to help it go down smoothly. It's very important that it goes down smoothly in one motion. All right, and here we go. It's very easy to get an air bubble under the surface, and you'll probably see one of those tonight. All right. Here is our peacock pattern. Looks probably a little bit like the localized color example down here. Yeah. All right. Ready to rinse? Questions? So this is called Turkish marbling, originated in Turkey. Although I've done a little bit of studying, and lots of different areas of the world sort of want to claim it. But we'll call it Turkish marbling. Does the Historical Society have any pieces of marbled paper? Or books that might show marbled paper? Have you noticed anything in the collection?
Not that I know of.
But we'll be looking now.
Yeah. Yeah, see, now you'll know what you're looking at.
Now we'll know what we're looking
Yes.
for. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Because you said this is back in the 17th century, isn't it?
Yes, yes, so 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, but also before that. The oldest piece of marbled paper that we have, and I don't know where it resides, which museum, is from the 1100s.
Wow.
It's a very, very old craft, a very old process. And my process is very, very similar to what the traditional artisans would have done. Again, these are examples of Turkish marbling brushes that are used by present day Turkish artisans. This is horsehair, and this is rosewood, and some of them have a little wedge at the end of the brush, and I don't yet know what that's for. I still need to do some research, see if I can figure that out. All right, so I'm ready to start another. Feel free to ask questions. The process for marbling fabric or leather or untreated wood is exactly the same. If you can figure out a tray or a bucket that's the right size, you can try marbling anything. All right, let's use some different colors. You almost can't go wrong in choosing colors. I teach this to people, including very young people. And children will put together just the most random collections of colors you could imagine, and everything always looks great. I always like to say that 5-year-olds will, sometimes 5-year-old girls will put down pink, and then they'll put down purple, then they'll put down pink, and then they'll put down more purple, and more pink, and more pink. And you know what? It looks great in the end. Looks fantastic. Kids love this. And kids can make really remarkable things. I sell a beginner's marbling kit. It's called the Serious Beginner's Marbling Kit. If anyone has an interest, you can talk to me afterwards. Otherwise, you can check it out on marblingsupplies.com. And the kit uses the very same process that you're seeing here tonight.
Oh, sorry. Good call.
What happens if you don't put enough paint on?
Good question. Then you just have a little bit of a lighter look, a more pastel look, and some people like that. I just happen to really, really like it bright. But yeah, you can put on as much as you want.
And do you have to do that method, or can you like drop for something else?
Some marblers use an eyedropper. Have you seen that? Go to YouTube. You'll see it all. You'll see everything. But I have not really been able to make an eyedropper work with my process. I don't know if it's my paint or my size. It's not thick enough. I don't know. I don't use that process. When I make scarves, which are 72 inches long, so the tray for scarf making is about this wide and about, well, 80 inches long, so from there to about there. And when I make scarves, I don't do this method. It just takes too long. I fling. I go right in the jar and I fling like this, and I'm pretty good at aiming. But yeah, otherwise it would take too long. All right, I think I have enough on here. Let's do an antique spot pattern. That's what that is. I will start with my stir, just like you saw for the nonpareil. I'm not being quite as careful with this stir, and it's a little bit more open than what I would use for a nonpareil, because I'm going to do a second one on top, on the diagonal, like this. And this will produce just a little bit of a finer finished stir. And then can you tell what the last step is, looking at this? Can you tell?
Maybe doing some blopping or something.
Some spots on top.
Spots on top.
Yes, I'm going to go back to my paint, and I'm going to decide which color. And I think it's going to be orange. Orange or turquoise? Maybe turquoise. Let's do turquoise. Right, and I'm going to knock most of the paint off the brush because I want my spots to be fairly small. And I'm going to start in the corner and see what happens. Yes, they're perfect. That is just the right size. So, and I want them to have a random look. And that is called an antique spot. This is one that you will see oftentimes in books, in the end papers of books. This is a common one. So So not many people know about marbling. What happened? How could something that was so industrialized in the 1800s in Europe just practically fall off the face of the earth? And does anyone have any ideas? The Industrial Revolution. Okay. It was, nobody ever really figured out how to make machinery to do this, right? It had to be done by hand, and so it just sort of got forgotten. I did read of one company in New York City, you know, in the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s, but they didn't make a go of it, and it just kind of fell off the face of the earth to be rediscovered later by people like us. All right, so here comes our antique spot. All right, I do not know what time it is. 6:40. 6:40. Okay, we have 20 more minutes. Questions? All right, I'm just gonna marble.
Oh, that one turned out really nice.
Who wants to pick me 4 or 5 colors? Anybody want to choose 4 or 5 colors?
So you're the art sister. I'm not an art sister.
No,
You work for an art products company. Well, that's good.
I do remember seeing you. And you have a sister? 1 sister, 2 sisters, yeah.
3
Oh,
sisters.
3 sisters! Oh my goodness.
That's all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
we
you just
stop
name your
there.
colors and I'll use those, see what we
Did
can
you
come
say?
up
What do we want? I like this blue. This blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, try some yellow.
with. Okay. And at least 1 more. Turquoise? Okay. Good.
Do you have to have special acrylic paint?
You kind of do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a float, and I will answer any questions all day long, except what's in my paint.
You gotta keep it secret.
Right. That is my one secret, because I produce the paint and sell it, and that
You
is the.
produce yourself?
I
Okay.
do,
So
yeah,
other
and that's the
people-
one thing I won't tell you is
That's
the
fine.
recipe. But there's a lot of pre-packaged paint out there on the market that you can experiment with.
Got it. So would like 100% cotton rag paper work nice?
Yes. Yep.
With like a deckled edge? Do you do any of that with like deckled
Yes.
edging?
Yes, I do. Are you familiar with? Are you an artist?
No, I work for an art product company.
Oh, you're the one who works for.
People.
Yeah. Yes. Do you know what Lokta paper is from Nepal? Yeah.
No.
It's handmade.
Let's say, I should have got you a handmade watercolor book. Is it like a kozu or a mulberry? Or a takata?
I guess I don't know the name of the fiber.
Fiber,
I
okay.
don't know, but it's very textured.
Okay.
It comes in lots of very cool colors.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't bring my white paint, but I have a whole set
Like a
of
vibrant
pastels.
white on it.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that looks cool.
It's very cool.
There you go,
That's-
you're good.
That's a very
Oh,
good
that's
thing to
cool. I
do.
didn't think
Oh,
of
that's
that.
a great question, Lo. Good job.
Well, yeah, because she could start with like with black or gray or tan Yeah. Like rag paper?
The smoother the better. I like
Yeah.
the Lota,
So is that with like the sizing on the paper, right? It has to be nice and.
yeah, sizing helps, the hot press helps.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, maybe, let's see if we can get
pretty
one more
color.
rounded turquoise on there.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty.
Yes. And do you have a pattern in mind?
I kind of like this one. I don't know what this one is.
Oh, that's just a spot
That's just
pattern.
spots?
Yeah.
I kind of like that one.
Okay, I like the spot pattern too.
Yeah. I think that was kind of fun.
Well, I'll just keep throwing color on here then,
I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
until I can't get any more on.
And how do you tell, did you say?
When it's time to quit?
Yeah.
When paint stops spreading and eventually it will actually sink if I just keep going.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because the surface fills up
Mm-hmm.
and it has nowhere to go, so it sinks.
The problem is like something makes this look so easy, but like even just laying that paper down, you have to be really super careful.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes practice.
Like, yeah, like you said, you had like a black piece of paper and some bright colors
cool.
would be
Imagine
really cool.
that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I get excited about this
Yeah.
stuff.
Is there any other, like you said, you have fine art degrees, or any other, a little bit to what you do, other techniques that you bring into, like after you're done with your marble papers or things together?
Some people use it. I sell it online, and
Okay.
artists buy it, and they cut it up and they tear it up and they make collage,
Oh, okay.
or they make illustrations for books or covers for books.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it's just like, I mean, you could block print or screen print over top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you just said spot. Okay. Well, we can just
yeah.
quit and make this a spot pattern. Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna look much like that, but let's try.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is striation? I would think so. Because, I mean, isn't that one the striation without the spot? Like, if you didn't do that extra
Right.
spot on top, I think that's just. Cool.
How did you get the flowers in this one at the end?
Oh, good question. Maybe we have time for one more, and I will show you. Unless you want me to show you on this one, I could.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun.
All right. Let's do that.
You should marble masks.
Why not?
Why not, right? Like your own marble mask. People would go that.
That would be sweet.
Could do like silking. Yeah.
All right. So for flowers, we need a nice, fine background so that the flowers show up well. So I will. What should I do? I don't have my fine comb with me.
I didn't shoot it.
What was
It was her.
Oh, and just sunflower.
Yeah,
Mhm.
not me. But yes. What about,
Could you like? Is this kind of like dipping when they do like gun cases and stuff like, or gun, stacks?
You can try marbling anything that you can design a tray or a bucket for. That's the right shape and size. You can try dipping anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think this will make a nice background for our flowers. All right, so we're going to use the same colors for flowers that you already used in the background. And we're going to, I don't know if this will work, but we'll try. We're going to hope that that spreads.
Yeah, might not, because you didn't have a, you used a lot of color.
Mm-hmm. Those columns.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So are you seeing where this is going?
Mm-hmm. It's like a perfect survey. How cool it is.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Could you, do like a small something like that rather than a paper? You know, could you do like a small scarf? You know, like a little,
You sure could.
like instead of paper right now? You know what I'm
Right
saying?
now, I don't have anything else with
I
me
know,
that's
but it's like-
treated.
Yeah.
But yes. Again, if you can
A little, what's that
if
called?
you can think
Cloth?
it, you can marble it. Basically, you can try.
Little-
All right.
A bow
Now
tie?
No, what's that? Oh, it's
I
like a
need what
Barbie
artists
for-
call a stylus, which is just a small pointy thing like a speedball pen.
Nice, nice.
And what I'm going to do is make my flowers.
Yay.
Okay, isn't that simple? Like, like,
Oh, that looks beautiful.
like, why didn't I come up with that, right?
I would have never thought to bring it in, though. I would have thought to bring it out.
Well, you can do that too.
Huh.
You can start in the middle.
Oh, that's pretty.
Hers.
Cool. That's really cool.
You can do, you know what columbine is?
No.
There's my idea of columbine.
Oh, okay.
So, so the Turkish marblers take this drawing process to the nth degree, and they make absolutely beautiful flowers, birds, anything organic,
Could you
landscapes.
just be weird? Could you write someone's name?
You could, but you'd have to write it backwards.
Mirror.
Right?
Oh.
Yes, but you could, sure.
That'd be hard.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'd screw up.
You just have to practice like on paper
Mhm.
first.
And then if you want to get really really detailed,
oh, look at that.
That's really good. It's see, like I know I just don't want it on a piece of paper.
But that would be cool to like make thank you cards and stuff out of.
yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, let's print it. It'll look a little different on the
Put it
paper
in the
once we get it on
cricket
paper.
afterwards. Does the cricket need special labor? Like you put like let this dry and then like cricket it up.
And this will probably be our last paper.
Paper and the cricket?
You like take that and like turn it in a frame and put like calligraphy and then like you like you know like the girls' names on them. Just for when you do that message.
I like
Oh, look at that.
Oh my god.
I think it'll wash off.
Yeah.
Oh, because it was too much paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll wash off.
But, oh yeah, it's running a little bit there, but once it's rinsed, it should be fine.
Just need the bath. It should need a bath.
Use your fingers. Still, no, not there, your babe.
Huh?
You're colder. Your fingers are there.
It's not. No, you can take it.
Oh boy. Your finger in the way? That one. You told me I could go back to show you. Oh, Chris is watching. Oh, look. See? It ran off.
Yep,
Yeah, that's super cool. Oh, that's awesome. That was good.
All right. Last minute questions?
This was very awesome.
All right.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me here at the, what did you call this building?
Straits Cultural Center.
Straits Cultural Center, soon to be remodeled, right?
Yes.
Very good. All right, thank you.
We'll have you back when
All
it's
right.
remodeled in the new program room.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You should marble a wall.